Well, hello, everybody, and happy Monday. So glad that you tuned in to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. My name is Kathy Holmes. I am delighted to be your guest. And on the Zoom booth program today, I have the great pleasure of having Johnny Blakeborough. I knew I was going to get that wrong. I tried my best. Johnny Blakeborough. He's the president of the Vancouver Island Short Film Festival. And I also have Zoey Heath with us. She is the festival director. Hello, you two. Welcome to the program. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you so much for having us on the show today.
I am
Yes,
so
thank you.
delighted. I'm so delighted that you're here. It's always such a gift to bring anything to do with the arts to our community. And so I'm dying to hear all about what's happening with the Vancouver Island Short Film Festival. Johnny, do you want to give us a little bit of an explanation of how it got started and all the goodies about the festival itself?
Sure. Yeah, I was a struggling art student that was making short films with a bunch of my friends, and we were looking at different organizations and festivals that we could put our films in. And my
Yeah.
friend John Gardner and I, who worked at the Nanaimo Arts Council, was saying maybe we should make our own festival. Maybe we could make something to have to showcase the great kind of short films that were being made in our community and have something that was really specifically about short films, because we had been working on other festivals and we had our films in other festivals that had maybe a mix of short and long films. And we realized the kind of democratizing effect of handycams and iMovie and other products that were starting to come out to allow people to make their own films meant that lots of people, especially with lower income or from smaller communities that weren't in bigger arts communities or cities that had like film industries, that short films were really a great medium for them to tell their stories. And it was way easier to get really great short film content than it was to get longer film content. It's just so much more expensive to make a feature film than a short film. And it just so much more expressive and exciting of a format for us. And so that's what we decided to do. We were going to make a film festival in our local community that was all about just short films and good stories. That was the big thing. That was the thing that we centered in, is like, let's make a good experience for our audience and a great experience for filmmakers, and local filmmakers as well as international filmmakers can all showcase their work in our community. And we really don't know what we did, but we seem to have hit on something that people wanted, both as art makers and as art consumers. And we were super lucky. The first festival sold out, and we realized, oh, I guess this is something we have to do every year. And so this is our 18th year, and we've
Holy
got
moly.
yeah, it's just been a huge success for us. We're so proud of the local filmmakers and the international filmmakers and the community that comes out and supports us every year. It's an honor to be a part of this. And so I was one of the founders. John Gardner has since left the festival, and I stopped being the festival director about 8 years ago, and we've now got Zoey here to run the festival for us, and we are super happy that we have such a talented person like Zoey to run the show for us.
Well, that's a great segue to meet Zoey. Zoey, welcome to the program. Super glad you're here. What got you involved in such an organic and wonderful opportunity?
So I moved to the island about 5 years ago now, and I came from Toronto, where I ran a media business, kind of working half in photography, half in film, half in graphic design. And I always had a bit of a foot in kind of underground independent culture. I made short films myself. I always kind of had a group of creators and filmmakers around me. And when I got to the island, I kind of had nothing. I didn't know anybody. It was a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
spontaneous decision. And the first thing I saw that got me excited was a poster for the Vancouver Island Short Film Festival up in the cafe that I was working at as I
Wow.
transitioned my life to the island. And I thought, that's the thing. This is
Yeah.
cool. The graphic design was cool. As I went online and looked at it, everything, all the things I saw about it looked like exactly like something I wanted to get involved in. So I started when I didn't know anyone, just kind of like creeping around the festival
Yep,
and
yep, yep.
getting on their radar. And I met Johnny and just started talking film at him immediately because I secretly knew that he was part of this short film festival.
Love it, love it, love it, love it.
And then I got asked to be on the selection committee, and just kind of just force them to know who I was and to like me.
Well, good for
It was
you.
not, you didn't have to force us to like you.
Absolutely. And I'm always intrigued by the way people come to things, the way that they come to projects. So just on that frame, Zoe, what was the first film that you saw from the film festival, and why did it inspire you?
I think the first one I remember seeing, I believe, was a film called Tampon.
Ah, what a name!
It's a
Oh my
memorable
goodness.
film.
Yeah. That is about a woman who is on a date and needs to change her tampon, and chaos ensues.
Oh
I
my
just
goodness.
I just
Oh
thought,
my goodness.
okay, this is cool. This festival's for me.
Yeah, well, that's one
So
of the big things about the festival that we've tried to do, and that one of the reasons that we were really excited to have Zoe join our team, because Zoe really, I think, understood this, was that we wanted a festival that was diverse and interesting and weird, and it's still good, like stories for lots of people, but that we weren't going to just try and do really weird, very artistic things or very funny things or very mainstream things. We wanted everything. We wanted
yeah,
the show to
yeah.
be the other reason that we picked short films was because, if you see a film and it's like, oh, that was okay, or I didn't like that very much, wait 5 minutes, you're probably going to see something else you like really interesting. And that was one of the things that we were hoping that Zoe would help continue the legacy of the festival is, there needs to be some really kind of interesting, weird things in there. And comedies is something that is sometimes left out
Yes,
of
yes.
artistic endeavor, especially film. Sometimes as festivals, especially, sometimes treat themselves very highfalutin, and they're like, well, no comedy, and that's always been a big kind of part of the festival is making people laugh.
Yeah, Johnny, I totally understand that. And I also think that there's something to be said about those unique films, right? Like films that people wouldn't typically watch. They're not mainstream films. And that's in some ways what makes them really unique and better, because they have they have a take on them where the audience can identify the business of living, and they can see it in a short term and relate to it in that way. So speaking of that, when we talk about short films, what constitutes a short film? Is it under 10 minutes, under 5 minutes, a half an hour? Like what exactly would you constitute as being a short film?
Well, there are rules about what feature films and short films are. For us, for our festival, it's 15 minutes or less.
Okay.
Some festivals do like 30 minutes, and some and in fact, the festival started, I think, with 8 minutes, and then we went to 10, and then we went to
Yeah.
12. And for our 13th year was like, let's do 13. And actually, we've been
Great.
at 15 for quite a few years now, and we've found that that's a good um kind of marker where we want a really good program that's entertaining in kind of an evening. And we find that I think if you go too many films that are longer than 15 minutes, it means you have less films to choose from. And we wanted to have that diverse program. Although saying that 15 minutes is the maximum length doesn't mean that they have to be that long. There is,
Right.
we sometimes have films that are much, much shorter.
Yes. So when you come to the festival then, right, which I think is being held at the Malaspina Theatre on April, is it the 21st and 22nd that the plan is?
Correct.
We're going to talk more about that in a few minutes, but when it comes up to the show, approximately, I guess, Zoe, you might be able to answer this better as the festival director. How many films are you planning on showing on this particular weekend? Or is it a weekend, April 21st? I didn't check yeah, it is a weekend. Okay, good. Phew. There we go. Right? All right.
You got it. We have 20 films as part of the 2 nights, 10 films each night, and they are
Wow.
a variety of lengths and genres and mediums. Even like we have a paper craft film, we have animated films, we have live action dramas. Like it really, that space allows for so much diversity and so much like impactfulness, because as Johnny was saying, it's like you can be almost to tears for one film and then the next film you're laughing. And that's what I like
Yes.
about it, is that you kind of go through this like variety of perspectives. It really allows a fuller human experience. with
Yeah.
short film.
So, Johnny, I asked about Zoe's favorite,
Mhm.
which was one I didn't expect, I'll be honest with you. That definitely made my eyes pop just a little bit. And I'm curious, I know you've been doing this now for 18 years as one of the founders of the festival itself. Has there been one or two films that have been super, super impactful for you that have just stayed with you and kept you going with this festival?
So many, and it is very hard to pick
Yeah.
just one or two. I think that I think I have a similar aesthetic and weirdness interest that Zoe has, and so some of the really kind of goofy weird ones really stick with me. I love the super short ones that just grab you and then they're
Yes.
done, and you're like,
Yes.
for some of those we have to like, let's give a couple extra seconds of black between the film just to give people a moment to think about it before we throw them into the next one, because they're going to need a breath. There was an early film that we
Yeah.
had called Kitty Cat, which we use as our theme for the festival, for like our musical theme. It's this like it's like a Chinese lucky cat that just kind of goes kitty cat,
Kitty
and that's
cat.
all
Yes,
it
yes,
does.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
it's just a couple minutes long, and we use that at the beginning of the festival every year. So I guess I have a special place in my heart for that.
Yeah.
There was this amazing film from Winnipeg called Boom Gnomski, which is this musical stop motion tree that goes on a journey and sings a song, and it won best song that year, and it's also one of the most delightful goofy films. Yeah, we were really lucky many years ago. This film association in Winnipeg found out about our festival and just submitted a
Yes.
whole bunch of stuff. They had years of stuff. That was one of the other big things when the festival started. A lot of festivals were all about, you need to have the films be premiered at our festival, or at least it needs to be in the same year. And our guidelines are, it has to be 15 minutes or less,
Yeah.
and we have had to have not shown it before, and then our selection committee picks the best ones that are submitted. So if you made a film 10 years ago, you could still submit it. And so the Winnipeg Film Group had like this catalog of amazing films. It's a great film community out there, and they just sent us their best films over the last multitudes of years. So we had this huge catalog to choose from, and Boom Gnomski was one of the ones that was shown, and it is just a delightful film, and it sticks with me. And there's stuff that is obviously impactful in different ways. There's Helena Marie, who is one of our festival directors now. She is on our board of governors. She submitted a film years ago about domestic abuse that won a bunch of awards, and is still, I still think about how impactful and well made and beautiful and hard to watch,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also memorable. And so it's hard to pick just one or two, even two or three, but it is every year there is multitudes of films like that. That's why I keep on doing this. And I actually, this year, on purpose, I didn't watch any of the films. So I
Oh,
am going to be
wow.
surprised by all the films. That was one of the things about hiring a new festival director. It was like, we've got submission
Yes.
coordinators and we've got submission judges, and I watch the trailer like everyone else, and I read the descriptions and go through the program, and but I trust the people that I work with to pick good films, and I don't see them beforehand. So I'm really excited to see all these films fresh with everyone else on the 21st and 22nd.
Wow. 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 I love that, being as surprised as your audience when things come up, right? Like
Yep.
there's something to be said about that moment when you go,
Yeah, when I was the festival director for 10 years, and this isn't a bad experience, but it's a different experience. I would watch the films like maybe 5, 10 times. I'm checking for sound, and I'm like,
of course.
I'm going back and forth with the filmmakers, and they're sending me different copies, and I'm watching them with the different judging committees, and I'm watching it. I think I made the trailer a few years, and so you have to watch it all to do that. And now that we have other people to do that, it's one of the great joys of being the president now, is I can enable people to make a great show and still enjoy it fresh when it comes out. It's a pretty great experience.
So actually, having with you saying that, Johnny, I think it's really important that people understand your organization as such. So is this a volunteer-led organization with the film festival, or are you a nonprofit society? Like, let talk about what actually the your body, I
Mhm.
don't know how else to word it, but how are you governed? All of that good stuff.
So yeah, we started out as basically just a group of people that worked on this project for the Nanaimo Arts Council. So the Nanaimo Arts Council is a nonprofit that we worked through, and they applied for grants for us, and we did all the work. But we weren't even, like, we were called the Vancouver Island Short Film Festival, but we weren't a legal entity. And
Right.
then after I left the festival, after the 10th year, to go make some short films on my own, and Carla Duarte took over for me. She said, "I really want to make this into its own society. Can you help me?" And so
Great.
we incorporated it as our own nonprofit, and we've been running for several years as our own nonprofit with a volunteer board. And I will proudly say that this is the most active board I've ever been involved in. The board
Lovely.
is very actively involved in all aspects of the festival and helping in every way they can.
Brilliant.
Jocelyn, who's on our board, edits our trailer amongst many other things, and is also the secretary. And Sean Enns is on our board and helps get sponsorships and grants, and like we have
Hosted a podcast.
hosted a podcast for us. And
Yes,
like it
yes.
is very, so all of the board are all volunteer, but we do have paid staff. We have we apply for grants, and of course we
Great.
sell tickets, and we get sponsorships, and we as any arts organization in the Central Island area struggles for money, but we
Yeah.
think it's really important to pay our staff. And so we have a very small group of staff. We do have volunteers as well, but we try and, as much as possible, pay our staff the best we can. And we're a nonprofit. We don't try and make any money for ourselves on this. It's all the money goes back into developing the film community and supporting artists. That was the other big thing that we decided really early on as filmmakers. We realized a lot of festivals don't pay the filmmakers for their films, and that was one of the big things we started very early on, was like, we need to pay artist fees. If we show people's films, we should give them some money. Maybe we don't have a lot of money to give, but if we don't have those films, we don't have a show. And so we need to pay them. And so I think that's also helped build a good reputation with filmmakers, and helped, generate interest in the festival from the arts community for making stuff for many years.
Johnny, I'm just so glad to hear you say that. I mean, I understand what, that whole philosophy of the starving artist, right? I've seen it over my career for, 40 years. I've watched people that have really got some incredible talents that just are not being acknowledged for their talents. Zoe, when we think about what the festival director role is, it must be incredibly difficult to go with your group, your fabulous team, and decipher which of the films are going to make it to the next level and be showcased. Can you explore with us a little bit about what that looks like?
So our selections are actually made by a very wonderful selection committee, which I had the privilege of being part of for the previous 2 years, and had to kind of then switch my brain as the director to finding and I had a lot of help from Greg, our submissions coordinator, who is also amazing and has a lot of experience with this. I probably couldn't have done such an awesome job without him.
Thank you, Greg.
Yes, thank you, Greg. We picked a very diverse group of people to trust to make those selections. They went through, they rated and picked not necessarily even their favorites, because it's not always about your favorite. It's about what will come together to be an impactful program.
Sure.
What will make an audience have an experience while they're watching it. And that was kind of the challenge, is discussing all these things with the submissions committee, and having them come together to be like, okay, this is what's going to make an audience go, wow.
Yes.
So that's always the challenge, is finding those gems and bringing it together, and then programming it together in a way that will really hit the audience.
Yeah.
And we had more films submitted this year than any other year but one. It was the second highest submission. Do you remember how many the number was, Zoe?
167.
Wow.
From all over the world.
But you're only getting 10 and 10, right? 10
Correct.
The first night, 10 the second night, and there's no lap over. So you're not sharing. It's not the same 10 each night.
Two different programs. Yep.
2 different programs, 2 different days. Let's talk about that international factor, because, a lot of people may not be aware that there is such a large audience for international film.
Yeah, and when we, as I said, when we first started, we really we were about, it was the Vancouver Island Short Film Festival, and we decided the first year that it should be Vancouver Island short filmmakers, but we realized it's really hard to police that. Like,
Yes, yes, for sure.
like someone was born in Vancouver Island, or they made the film in Vancouver Island, or one person on the team was from Vancouver Island, and we didn't really want to police that after the first couple of
Yeah.
years. We wanted
Yeah.
to encourage it, and we wanted to support it, and we wanted to do so. We have waivers, so local filmmakers get to submit their films for free, and we do a lot of work in our community to try
Sure.
and support and get as many films as from local filmmakers. And this year we have 6 Vancouver Island films out of 20, which is a considerable amount considering we had, over 160 submissions from all over the world. But we were very lucky that the festival has garnered attention of filmmakers from every corner of the planet. We have films submitted from Iran and China and Mexico and the United States, all over Canada, Japan. We get films from Africa. We get films from Europe. We're very, very lucky to have these films from all over. And the only rule that we have about that is if your film is in a different language, we need English subtitles. But we don't have like quotas of like, oh, foreign language films and because we get a lot of films that are without words, right? Like we get films submitted that are just tell a story through impactful imagery and motion or music.
Absolutely.
Or and a lot
Yeah.
of we get a lot of really interesting foreign films that are done that way, and that they're kind of universal, and it doesn't really matter that they're that the person who made it spoke a different language than you. They're trying to convey something that's universal, and that is about the human experience. And I think that short film really is a great medium because it is collaborative, but it is a small enough thing that very small teams can work on and come up with really exciting, interesting stories and share them. And yeah, this year, I can't remember exactly. Zoe, do you remember how many international films we have?
6.
6 international films.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. I love international films, and I don't mind subtitles. I find that there's I have grown, especially in the last, since COVID, and part of it is because I just see so much mainstream stuff out there. I'm interested in seeing what's new, what's different, and what's unique. And I found that I've been watching a lot of Korean documentaries and Korean stories, which are really engaging and very, very emotional to watch. Is there, in both of your experiences, again, we've talked about favorites already. It's hard to have a favorite, and I get that. But are we seeing a trend for subjects that are coming from international cultures? Like, are we seeing, with so much trauma that's been going on with Ukraine and so many other parts of the world, are you seeing depictions of that through film coming through your studios?
I think that's a question that we get every year, which I think is a really interesting one, is like, what are the films that we're getting submitting telling us about the state of the world?
Yeah, right.
And I think I heard Jocelyn say, and as I said, I haven't watched all the films. As I said, I purposely didn't, but Jocelyn, who edited the trailer, I think the word she used to describe this year was really inquisitive and searching and search and I like that, the idea of films that are looking for more to the the human story, right? And but can you think, Zoe, of anything that's specific about the international films, or is that one of the strengths of them is that they're all different?
Something that I really noticed was this idea of small ways of rebellion and small ways of finding
Yes.
hope. We saw a lot of that in the international films, but we also saw a lot of that in films from here in Canada, is these small ways of turmoil, you come together and you connect.
Yeah.
There's a lot of films about small connections, and it seems dark, like there's some very emotionally dark films and very light films, but at the core of it all, they all are these like small ways in which we kind of come together.
Yeah. I mean, humanity at its best level is one of resiliency, right? Of coming through, coming forward, growing, and bringing depth to the human experience, no matter what you're going through in this life. And so, not to go to the dark side, of course, but let's face it, the human experience once in a while is a little on the dark side. But for the most part, people are able to come through such incredible tragedies and just come up and be strong, and their fortitude is phenomenal. So I'm going to just take a quick moment here to do a quick station identification. I am so excited to be talking to you guys. I really love festivals that bring the best of artistic talents to our communities, and just I thank you so much for being here. So if you just tuned in, by the way, now you need to go grab a piece of paper and a pen, because you're going to want to know how to get tickets to this amazing event that's coming up very soon. And that's the Vancouver Island Short Film Festival. My guests today, Johnny Blakeborough and Zoey Heath, are sharing with us all the kinds of cool things that you could potentially expect to see on this 2-day event that will be held April 21st and 22nd at Malaspina Theatre up at VIU. So you really, really want to make sure you've got all the, your paper ready, because we want to share more information with you. Also, if you've just tuned in, thank you so much for being with us every Monday at 1 o'clock. We love it when you show up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can also find us on Act 3 on Shaw Spotlight. Our next episode is being filmed this week, and so we're so excited to be bringing it up to you very, very shortly. We've got lots of terrific guests, including the guests I have today will be on the program as well. You want to see their beautiful faces because they're awesome. Another thing I want you to think about as well is checking out the Red Heart Breakfast. If you want information on the Red Heart Breakfast, it will be held at the Vancouver Island, I guess it's the Convention Center, or I'm not sure how we're calling it now. We've sort of fiddled with the name just a little bit. However, it's coming up very soon. So you really want to make sure that you check out the chat box if you're watching us on the YouTube station for information about that. And if you want to find out more about any of the things that are happening with Act 3, we invite you to visit our webpage. That's act3mediaproductions.com. We're always glad that you join us. So thank you for being with us every Monday at 1 o'clock and watching our reruns on our various different platforms. Again, I'm Kathy Holmes, happy to be your host. My guests today, Johnny Blakeborough, he's the president of the Vancouver Island Short Film Festival, and Zoey Heath, they are the festival director for this upcoming fabulous event. You guys, I can't wait till April 21st and 22nd. I'm so delighted with the idea that we've got some great films coming. I'm curious about, we hear about short film festivals and we hear about how often some of these films end up getting Juno Awards and other accolades. Can you talk to us a little bit about, for this festival, is there a winner of the event, or is there, what does all that look like? Can you break that up? Either one of you I'd be happy for you guys to start.
So we have a great award called the Goldie, which is named after my mentor and wonderful community member that passed away several years ago, Sheila Goldberg, who was a professor of film history and a journalist at Malaspina and then VIU. And so the award is named after her. It was an award designed by Brendan Tang, who is a internationally acclaimed ceramic artist from Nanaimo, who's a great friend of the festival and designed this wonderful award. And we give out the award for several categories on Saturday after the show. So all 20 films are eligible for all of the awards. And we're, of course, are not going to reveal who gets the awards yet. You'll have to wait till the show. But Zoey, do you want to talk a little bit about the awards and the award process?
So our awards are chosen by a judging committee. And again, we scoured all our contacts and our contacts of our contacts and everyone we knew to put together a really great diverse team of people who we thought could come together and really think kind of have an interesting take on the judging, so that it's not always what you think it's going to be.
Right.
We have a really, we have artists, academics, an archivist, a film archivist on our judging committee this year. So it's a really diverse group.
And we have a Grammy Award winning filmmaker as well from the area. Terry Fitzgerald, who lives in the Cowichan Valley, is a great award winning filmmaker. He made music videos and film and TV. And yeah, we've got a great judging committee this year, and we give out 6 awards.
Wow. I love that it's a diverse committee as well. I think that that's really, really important. From an international perspective, do the winners then go on to other film festivals across the country or around the world? The same ones that applied to become on this festival? I think that's an awkward question, but I hope you know where I'm going.
I think we know what you mean.
I think you know where I'm going. Yeah.
So last year, one of the films in the festival actually went on to be part of an Oscar, was Oscar qualifying. They didn't actually end up getting selected, but they were part of the pool. Yeah. So and every year we found, well, at least even from what I've noticed as a bit of an outsider, every year there seems to be this kind of growth with that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where our filmmakers this year kind of go. We actually have a Hollywood connection this year in the film Lucid. We have John Hannah, who was part of 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and The Mummy, and Sliding Doors.
So
Thank you for bringing it up.
Droppers here on Act 3. We're not name droppers or anything like that, but we'll take it.
It's exciting. It's an
Right?
exciting thing. And I, going back and forth with the director, there are these little spots where people want to make art and people want to make moving things. It doesn't matter if you're in Hollywood or not.
No, totally.
You have a
Absolutely.
great team, and that's kind of what it's all about.
But yeah, we have definitely had short films in our festival that have gone on to award multiple awards at other festivals, and that as I said earlier, one of the big things is we have no exclusivity. We're not interested in this being the very first. So sometimes we get films that have already won awards at other festivals as well as go on to win awards at other festivals, and we're super excited about that, and we're always happy when films that we've showcased do well at other places, and we try and promote that and let people know about those great experiences. Another thing that we've often done is after a film, a lot of times films are submitted to the festival and you can't get them online. They're not available online because a lot of film festivals have rules that if you can view it online, then you can't have it in the festival. We don't have any rules like that. But one of the things we do try and do is when we find out films have, gone through their festival tour and now they're available online on someone's webpage or YouTube page or Vimeo or whatever, we try and link that so that later on down the road, if people want to go and watch some of the older films that maybe have been shown at the festival before, we give them opportunities to do that through our website, visf.com.
Well, I love that visf.com is able to share that information. And I'm glad that you said that when you did. So visf.com is how people find you.
Yep.
How do people get tickets for this, you guys?
Same place, right? If you go to visf.com, tickets are at the very top. And we have tickets. This year is really exciting. Last 2 years, we did online only festival so that we could keep on doing the festival and be safe. And
Sure.
But we actually got lots of feedback from people who said that even if it wasn't a COVID situation, that the accessibility of being able to watch the festival online was really exciting for them. And my team has a really great background in streaming live online events. And so we brought that expertise the last 2 years to doing online only. We decided this year, because we hate ourselves, that we are not only going to be our first year back in person, we're also going to stream it live. And so when you buy tickets, if you buy in-person tickets or a festival pass, you can watch them in person or you can watch it online. So, and you can watch online for a couple of days after the festival. So if there's a film that you saw at the festival and you're like, you know what, I'd like to recheck that film out or all the films out again, you can do that at home at the comfort of your home and for the next 2 days after that. But if you can't make it to the festival, you don't live in Nanaimo and you can't travel here, or if you've got accessibility concerns or health concerns or any other reason, you can just buy an online only ticket and watch it just online. And we offer that option as well. So we're really excited to bring that this year.
So the online for the 21st and then 22nd is on real time though, right? So
Yep.
if it's 6 o'clock at night, it's yeah.
You'll be able to watch the MC introduce the films, and the live Q&As that we're going to have with the filmmakers, and the award ceremony. That's all going to be broadcast live. But you'll also be able to, even if you bought an in-person ticket or an online only ticket, you'll be able to, for the next 2 days after the festival, you can go back and watch it. So if you can't make it at the exact right time, you can also watch it time shifted later on as well. It'll be available for 2 days after the show.
I absolutely love that idea. I know that a lot of people are still a little bit nervous, although people are still, they're starting to really come out now. We're starting to see it more frequently, for sure, anytime there's a group event. But there's something quite lovely about sharing it with people that may not be able to get there in any other way. How much are the tickets, Johnny?
They are $19 per show, or $28 for a festival pass. So that gets you to both shows. Is that correct? Sorry, did I get that right? Yeah. And then I believe it's $10 for a single ticket for online, or $20 for a festival pass for both. I think I got that right. Maybe
Well,
it's 12 and 20. It's on our website.
It's on the website. Yeah.
but
The point is that it's affordable. Like, it's
Yeah,
not an
we try and make
expensive
it
ticket
affordable,
for
yeah.
you to be able to do
Yeah.
that. And the money goes right back into next year, right? Or
Yeah,
and other
we
events.
don't have to pay, some corporation or some organization outside of us. We use this to invest in our local community, to invest in our people, to pay artists, and work with local people, like our local graphic designer that does it, Paul Arnell, who did all of our amazing graphic design. We try and do everything with as many local businesses and local organizations as possible.
Yeah. And you've got some great people on your team. I think about Jocelyn that way. I know her quite well. We've been working together for years at Shot Spotlight. The woman is just absolutely brilliant, as
We are
is
so
the
lucky
rest
to
of
have
her
her.
team. I know I just shout out to Jocelyn whenever I get a chance, because
So great.
she's absolutely
And
brilliant. And
the
Todd
trailer
Jones as
this year
well.
is so good. Yeah, Todd has also worked with us the last couple of years. Todd had
Yeah.
films in our festival as a short filmmaker himself years ago, and we've roped him into helping us produce our live show, which is great to be able to have him do our streaming and live show directing.
I'm so glad to hear that. And Matt is there too,
Yes,
right?
Matt Carter.
Yeah,
Matt Carter
Matt
has
Carter
been
is our guy.
Matt Carter has been our MC for several years, and we just love the energy he brings to the
I know.
show. And one
I
of the
know,
things
he's so
that
great.
Zoe and I are super excited about this year is we're gonna like make the stage show a little bit like, we don't want to give away any secrets, but like there's gonna be a little bit more pizzazz. I think we are so excited to be back at the Malaspina Theatre. They've been great partners with us.
Yes. It's a great theater.
Robin and Leon,
Brilliant
and
theater.
it's the best theater for us because the capacity is perfect. It's centrally located. The people there are wonderful to work on with. We've got a great partnership. We work doing workshops with their students about how to put on live stream events as a partnership with them, so their students get experience with it while we get to use their great theater. And they are just great partners. And we went in and worked with them a little bit earlier on in the week, and we're going to do some really, I think, some exciting things, because we're just so excited to be back in that theater and have this live event, but also make sure that the online streaming event is still as good quality as possible.
Well, I really am glad that you guys are going back to the theater. I'm even more delighted that you have such great partnerships within them, and that it is so central. It's available for anybody to go to very easily. And so to get your tickets, you can go to visf.com. We're going to say it again, so not to worry about that. We're going to make sure that you have it. If you haven't already, grab your piece of paper and a pen. Zoe, I'm curious, because you came to this stage by seeing, a brochure hanging on the restaurant that you were working at, or however that came to be. Were you a filmmaker, an aspiring filmmaker yourself? And if so, had you ever participated in the Vancouver Island Film Festival or other similar festivals across Canada in the past?
Actually, yes, that is, I was going to say, as someone who has made short films and interacted with festivals before, now being on the other side of it and seeing we pay, like, not we, me personally, the society is so good at putting supporting the artists and paying them. Like that's where our money is going, because I've been on that other side, and not a lot of festivals prioritize that experience. They're basically like, you should be grateful that we're showing your film. And it's no, we are so happy that filmmakers are excited to be involved, and we want to make it as good of an experience as we can. And so I did. I can't say that I ever got to the level that many of these filmmakers are, because I am very interested in independent, more underground artwork. But yes, I have I have made those rounds. I have actually been a volunteer at TIFF before. And I'm really excited to kind of like bring all that experience to the live event.
No kidding.
Coming up.
So, Johnny, in your case, were you a filmmaker before you got involved in this? And so can you talk to us from, our audience is so diverse, which is what I love about our audience. I'm so grateful that everybody turns into Act 3, and we can all glean something from every guest that appears. But, I love filmmaking. I find it to be a fascinating process. But especially an underground filmmaking kind of opportunity where, it isn't always with the big cameras that we get the results that we want. So Johnny, I wonder if we can sort of explore a little bit about, who is today's filmmaker?
Oh, that's such a great, diverse group of people. You've got, we definitely get, very young people like high school and college students making their films, retirees, people in remote communities, people in big cities, people, as I said, from all over the world. We have a really great contingent of Iranian filmmakers. Iran has this amazing film community, but because of sanctions against Iran, it is very difficult for them to get their films out. And because of no fault of the filmmakers themselves, and that you can't, the payment stuff, it's next to impossible for Iranian filmmakers to pay to get their films submitted to film festivals. And so we've worked with a bunch of Iranian filmmakers to get their films, and I think we get this really unique voice of Iranian filmmakers that are submitting to our festival. But yeah, I started as a university student making art projects that I thought would be fun to be films, as kind of a way that I got into this. And then I got eventually hired by the university. And one of my big things that I wanted to do when I worked at the university was I saw the democratic effect of more and more affordable technology being able to give people voices. And so I spent a lot of my early career at the university helping students make films. It was a really exciting thing for me. And the film festival is not my real job, but it's another avenue that I have to help have a platform for people to be able to make films. And I think that was one of the best things about my job at the university when I was doing that work, was seeing people that had never made a film before finding their voice. And also, I think over the years, people develop quite a lot of film literacy about how films are made in ways that they don't realize, that they subconsciously understand when scenes run too long, or when a story beat needs to happen, but they might not be able to express it verbally. But that moment you see a filmmaker, a burgeoning filmmaker that's never made a film before, and sitting in the editing room with them and them saying, well, should I cut this? Should I leave this out? And you say, what do you feel? Does it feel too long? Does it feel too short? What does it feel like? And they realize they know what would make it good. And then they play it back and realize it's good. That is an amazing feeling. And the festival gives me that as well in a different way, is hearing the best thing I've ever heard at a film festival was a filmmaker a couple of years ago told me that they had made their film that they submitted to the festival that won a Goldie because they had seen films at the festival before. And it made them realize that lots of different types of people made films, and that they could make a film themselves maybe one day. And they did. and they submitted a film and it won at our festival. It doesn't need to win. The fact that they just made that film was super impressive and exciting. But the fact that they believed that at least in a small part that our festival helped inspire them to make their film is. I could retire from this now and have that, and I wouldn't need anything else, but I'm glad that I can still be around and help keep on fostering this and building this community and having these filmmakers come and make great things and share them with our audience.
I think there's something so delicious about the whole concept of someone having that discerning voice, that discerning moment when they're looking at film, when they're creating something, and then they attribute it to something that they've learned from the past, something that they were inspired by, and certainly a film festival from a previous year to give them the strength to say, I want to do this is beyond inspiring. So congratulations for inspiring so many people. I have no doubt in my mind that this film festival has done that for the last 18 years, no question. I also, from my own personal experience with film, know how hard it is to edit stuff. Like people just don't get it. Like
I made it sound a little easier than it is. It is very
really
hard, but it is hard. But anyone can do it. But it takes hard work.
It takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of time. Like I think, just even when I was editing over this, COVID breakout with Act 3 for Shaw Spotlight, I spent sometimes 18 hours on a 3-minute segment. Like people really have no idea the level of time that it takes. And that Premiere Pro, which is the program that I use, is one of the toughest little programs to make films, right? It's not user friendly. In the bigger scale of things, it's a language of its very own.
That's one of the big things that I had to do when I was first, like if I was asked to come to a class and talk to them about making a film, is breaking down that idea of how much time it took to film versus how much time it took to edit, and the expectation that the edit was basically, well, I'm making a 5-minute film, so how long could it take? 10 minutes?
Like,
an hour maybe at most? And it's like, no, buddy, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. It's going to take you a little bit longer than that. Yeah. That the editing process is often where the story comes together and there's a lot of work there. But but it's also super rewarding when you do a good edit, and it's just like, oh man, just you could tell what you were trying to get across, and you can tell it gives that little bubble of excitement when you see it. It's great.
Absolutely. I really do feel for artists who are just starting out, right? And they're just trying to understand, like, what do I want this to look like? How do I want this to feel? I mean, I think the testament to a great film is the emotion that is created as a consequence of what's on the screen. And so to be able to, get people invested in the story, get people invested in the concept of things is it's a real talent to be able to do that. No question. But I also love how you suggested, Johnny, that really people, lots of people are now starting to try film. Lots of people are starting to get into this arena through their phone, through other forms of technology. Zoey, do you see the difference when you're reviewing these films? And only Johnny, because you are not looking at any of the films this year. Am I going to Zoey on this question? As you reviewed it, how has the quality improved or changed, or can you see the difference between a higher end production versus one that's done on somebody's phone?
I think what is interesting about that is it doesn't really matter. That the access to technology has made it so we have in this year's program very quote unquote high end. You can tell they've had a lighting person, you can tell they have the higher end gear, but we also have something done on someone's parents' camera from when they were a kid. And because we have better access to digital technology to bring that footage now into a computer to edit, we can play more. And it doesn't, that shininess isn't always the end goal anymore. Because not everyone has to do that to make a film. And I think that opens up more storytelling options, because now people are more empowered who wouldn't have even had a shot. Like, I started making films because I got the first full frame. I was a photographer, and I got the first full frame camera that had a video camera, and I was like, wow, this is cool. I'm gonna be the next Antonioni, and went and like shot traffic for 8 hours, like, and then I was like, oh, what am I gonna do with this now? I guess I
Yep.
got to learn how to edit. And I just was relentless in this place that I never thought I could be, and I could all of a sudden. And I think we're starting to see the payoff of that now, of way more voices. And it doesn't really, like, everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people can have access to these shiny cameras now. So now it's more like, okay, what are we going to do with them? And does it really matter? Does it have to be that shiny? I don't think it does.
I don't think it does either. I don't think it
Yeah,
does
and
either.
that's been a big thing about our festival early on, was like story is more important than production quality. Like if your production quality is so bad that people can't tell what the story is, that can be a problem. But the production quality shouldn't be a limiting factor to your entrance into a festival, I think, because if you can tell a good story, that's what we want to see. That's all we want. As you said earlier on, that real connection that film can bring to the human experience. That's the kind of thing we're looking for. And if that's shot on your iPhone or your parents' VHS camcorder from 1988, or the newest red camera with expensive lenses, it doesn't matter. As long as you're telling something compelling, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, you're so right. It's the compelling piece, I think, that really is what makes the difference. It just reminds me of the Fabelmans, right? It reminds me, if you haven't seen the film, of Spielberg's early sort of love for film and the creation of things, right? It's when we create from our core soul, from our inner self, when we bring that to stage and screen, or through canvas, or through film festivals, or through whatever medium makes sense for the individual, then we've got something that really is impactful for the audience to review. So having said that, because I know that we're getting really close to time on the end of my program, which I really, really wish it wasn't. I can't believe how quickly it's going by. It's blowing my mind. If you have just tuned in to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM, thanks for doing so. We're glad that you tuned in, but you got to start at 1. You got to get the earlier part of the conversation. It's too bad if you missed part of it, but by all means, check us out on our YouTube channel, or certainly Spotify, iHeartRadio, and other areas where you can watch the program. I am so delighted to have had the guests today that we've been talking to. Johnny Blakeborough is the president of the Vancouver Island Short Film, almost fell over my own 2 feet, president of the Vancouver Island Short Film Festival. That's when I need to use my editing skills. Slice. And Zoey Heath, they are the festival director for the upcoming event, which will be on April 21st and 22nd. You got to get your tickets at visf.com. If you don't have access to a computer, how can you get your tickets? Is there a place you can pop in and pick them up?
You could pick them up at the door. At 6 o'clock on the night of the show, we'll be selling tickets at the door as well.
Right.
So if you can't buy them beforehand, or aren't sure till the last minute, we will have tickets at the door, and we'll be selling those starting at 6 o'clock on Friday and Saturday.
And so on the Friday, the show itself starts at 7, then, does it? Perfection. All right. So you want to go to this. I'm just saying, you guys, if you haven't already reached over to the computer to book your tickets now, there's your call to action to make sure you go and get them. That's April 21st and 22nd. The tickets are going to be independent of each other. The festival itself is 2 days long, 10 shows the first day, 10 shows the second day, plus the awards. I just think that's awesome. It's going to be fabulous. But now comes my favorite part of the program, which is sort of the walk away piece, that life lesson. And so, Zoey, I'm going to ask you to go first, if you'd be so kind. If you wanted to imbibe something onto our community as a takeaway moment, what do you think that people should consider when they think about filmmaking or this festival, or what is the wisdom in the work that you've done over the last few years?
I look at these festivals as everyone needs a starting point.
Yes.
All our many of our great filmmakers started in short film and had a place to experiment and come together and share their film with the community. And you know, that's what this is about, is like sitting in the audience as a filmmaker and seeing the audience reaction and experiencing that magic. I just like, I want to give that to other people because it's magical. And we haven't been able to do it for 2 years. And, you know, let's bring that back. Let's bring that magic back of sitting in the audience and getting to see a film on a big screen that you never expected. You know, we kind of know what we're getting into in the big theaters, but this is something completely different.
Completely different. Absolutely. Absolutely. I resonate with what you're saying so very much. I really do. And I just want to as well applaud that our friends on Vancouver Island who have contributed to this film festival, the people that our friends, our neighbors, our loved ones that are, you know, really taking a shot at something really quite spectacular. What a brilliant opportunity for them to be showcased. Zoey, thank you so much for sharing your point of view. I really am glad that you were part of today's program. I'm delighted to have met you in this way. I look forward to seeing you at the festival. Johnny, how are you when it comes to making this life lesson wisdom piece? What would you like to imbibe to our audience?
I think I just want to build on what Zoey said, because I really liked what they said there. But one of the to add on to it, one of the most exciting things for me, there's the audience piece of sitting in the audience and watching the films and having filmmakers be able to see audiences react and hear audiences react to the films. That's great. That's one of the things that this festival has been very good at, and our community has been great at coming out and supporting the festival. But also the conversations we wanted to, when we designed the festival, we've kept this in place, is the conversations that happen before and during the break and after the festival. And we have worked really hard. Zoey has done a great job of getting as many of the filmmakers as possible to come to the show this year. More than half are going to be at the festival for sure. We're aiming always to get 100%, but it's really hard, especially when you have filmmakers from all over the world. We have some filmmakers from Iran coming this year, which is super exciting. We have tons of filmmakers from Vancouver. I think almost all of the Lower Mainland filmmakers are coming. So there's 7 from the Lower Mainland. I think they're almost all coming. The local filmmakers, the 6 Vancouver Island short filmmakers, I believe they're all coming. Most of the filmmakers are going to be there. And so that opportunity for audience members, community, people who are interested in the arts, and the people who are making these great films to be able to talk and have those conversations. And we have a great filmmaker Q&A planned for each one of the films. One of the things that we designed during COVID that we're keeping this year is that instead of having a filmmaker Q&A at a separate event, during the breaks, after you've watched those films, you get to hear from those filmmakers, and that's structured at each break. So and so you get to hear that, but also there's great opportunities for conversations and with other people in the community to talk about short films and about art, and to talk to the filmmakers, and filmmakers to talk to each other. And that we tried our best to try and foster that remotely, and it worked to a certain extent. But like, I think the real excitement for me is building on what Zoey said of being in the Malaspina Theatre again and having those conversations and meeting those people and having them be able to really share those experiences with each other.
I'm so delighted, because I was going to ask that question as we were closing out to find out whether or not there was that component, because there's something to be said about actually meeting the makers of these incredible films and spending time asking the questions and what motivated them and made them, you know, desire doing whatever the film happens to be. So, you know, I'm so happy that you guys are doing this on April the 21st and 22nd. Please go get your tickets, you guys. Like, everybody, just go get them right now. Thank you very much, Johnny Blakeborough and Zoey Heath, for being on the program today. It was a pleasure to meet you both. I look forward to meeting you in person soon, and I just wish you all the very best for this festival, and congratulations on such a wonderful, wonderful legacy. 18 years is a long time to be bringing great stuff to our community. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thanks for having us, Kathy.
It was a pleasure. All right, folks, that does it for this episode of Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. I am so sad that our show is over, but I sure look forward to seeing you next time on Act 3, 1 o'clock. We'll see you next Monday, you guys. Have yourself a great day. And in the meantime, Take good care of each other and go see the film festival. Bye for now.